Okay, so we have players, which is a dictionary, and dictionaries keys are names of players. Okay, actually not names of players really; they are just names of people. And the value corresponding to a dictionary, it holds the sport or a collection of sports. Okay, a collection of sports. Full stop. Okay, a collection of sports, and then the value corresponding to the keys of the inner dictionary. This is the inner dictionary, right? So the values corresponding to the keys of the inner dictionary, they tell you whether this particular person has played this particular sport or not. Okay, so let's now copy the whole thing and look at this dictionary here, right? So it's an example. Let's quickly see what is happening here. So players of, let me use this person Karthik as one of the keys. I'll take this particular key and let's see what is there inside players of Karthik, what is the value corresponding to it. So it is a dictionary, in turn a dictionary. Okay, so let's call this dictionary sports. Okay, sports is the collection of sports associated with this person Karthik. Okay, so what does this person play or not play? That is determined by the values of this inner dictionary. Okay, so I'm calling this the inner dictionary because this is a dictionary that is inside some other dictionary, right? So let's see if this person plays tennis or not. So the value corresponding to tennis is true. Therefore, this person plays tennis, and this person plays. Does this person play badminton? Yes. Okay. What about cricket? False. Right. So this person does not play cricket. So that's the output. In fact, this person does not play any of these three sports. But then that's a different issue. So let's go back to the code. So what are we supposed to do? We are supposed to do the following. So we have to write a function named exactly 2. So that will take this players dictionary as argument, and it will return the set of all players who play exactly 2 sports. So what do we mean by that? So let's go back to this dictionary. So notice that Karthik here plays tennis and badminton. Okay. So this person will belong to the set of players who play exactly 2 sports. This means that we have to first iterate through this dictionary and iterate through the keys of this dictionary, and then iterate through the inner dictionary's key value pairs, and then find out how many sports each of these persons play, right? How many do each of these people in the dictionary play? So that's what we have to do, right? So how do we do that? Let's iterate over each player. I'll call the individual keys here, I will use player for it. So for player in players, that will iterate over the keys of the dictionary. Okay, now instead of just iterating over the keys of the dictionary, let's iterate over the key value pairs, because ultimately we also need to get hold of the sports, right, that a player plays. So this player is going to play a certain number of sports, which we are going to find out from the sports dictionary, right? So sports here will be what? It will be the value corresponding to each player. Okay, so sports will itself be a dictionary. Let's first print player on one line and say sports on the other line. So if we run this, okay, this is a mistake, right? So what is the mistake? This will only iterate over the keys, right? So for something in players, that means it's iterating over the keys, but I'm actually iterating over the key value pairs. Okay, so this has to be for something comma something, for key comma value in dictionary dot items. That is the way to iterate over key value pairs. Okay, so what is the first line? It's the name of the player, and the second line contains the details about the sports associated with this player. Okay, now what we will do is sports, we'll iterate over the dictionary sports, the key value pairs in the dictionary sports. So for sport and place. Okay, so place, so what does this mean? Sport is the name of the sport, so it could be tennis, badminton, cricket. Place is a boolean value that tells us whether this person plays the sport or not. So if it is true, it means that person plays. If not, it is false. So for sport comma play in sports dot items. So what do we have to do? So let's print sport comma place and see what we get. So now I'm just printing things. So first name in the outer loop, this is the outer loop's output, right? So this stands for the player. The next three lines here stand for the sports that are associated, different games associated with this player. So tennis is true, badminton true, cricket false. Okay. So now I hope you have understood the structure of this dictionary. What we'll now do is we can go ahead and start counting. So if place means what? If place is true, that means this person plays this sport. So we can increment the number of sports played by this person, that is count plus equal to 1. Just after entering the outer for loop, you have to set count equal to 0. So count equal to 0 after the outer for loop, because for each player you have to reset the counter to 0. Okay. Now the inner loop will do what? It will iterate through the sports dictionary and find out number of sports that this player plays. If count is double equal to 2, what does that mean? This player plays exactly two sports. So we can add this player's name, which is contained in player, to some set. Okay, the set is going to be initialized well before. So this is going to be a set object, empty set to begin with, and then you add. Okay, you keep adding. Now the whole thing should be inside the body of a function. So the function's name is exactly underscore 2. It accepts players, the dictionary players as argument, and it returns the set s. Okay. Now what I'll do is I'll just copy this and go back to the screen here. Now zoom and then paste. Let's first try to run this and see if this works. If it works, I'll just repeat the whole thing. Okay, 5 out of 5 private tests have passed. So let me repeat the whole thing after deleting the function that we have written here. So function definition for exactly 2, which accepts players as an argument. Okay. Now we have to store the set of all players in this set. Okay, so you might be thinking about one thing, right? So typically we write mathematical sets as open bracket, open curly braces, close curly braces, right? So you might be tempted to do this in the case of Python also, but this is a wrong thing to do when you're trying to initialize a set. Okay, an empty set. So if you want to initialize or set some variable as the empty set, this is the wrong syntax. Pause the video and think why this is the case. So if you notice, as far as Python is concerned, this syntax means what? It's an empty dictionary. Okay, so this cannot have two meanings. So as far as Python is concerned, this is an empty dictionary. So if you want to create an empty set, the only way you can do that is to use what is called a set constructor like this. Okay, so remember this, don't get confused between this and the notation for an empty dictionary, which is like this. Okay, so this means empty dictionary in Python. So an empty set would look like this in Python. Now what do we have to do? We have to iterate over the key value pairs in player. So for player comma the sports associated with the players in players dot items. So what are we going to do now? Now we are going to initialize the sport counter to 0, the number of sports played by this player. Now for each sport, and whether that player plays or doesn't play the sport in sports dot items. Okay, sports, remember, is again a dictionary. So we iterate over the key value pairs in this dictionary. If the person plays the sport, then increment the counter by 1. Keep doing this until you exhaust all the sports associated with this person. Now once you come out of the inner for loop, if the count is double equal to 2, then this means that the player plays exactly two sports. So you can add the name of the player, which is stored in player, to the set. Okay, once you do this for all players in the dictionary players, you return the set s. So one final point. So first let's run this and make sure that it's correct. Okay, so 5 out of 5 private tests have passed. So one final point regarding this question. Again, you might get confused. regarding the different methods used for sets and lists. Okay, so one might be tempted to add to instead of add to use append in the case of a set. Okay, but append is not the right method to add elements to a set. It is add. Okay, so remember this: s dot add when you are using sets, and l dot append when you are using lists. Okay, so that's the end of the solution to this problem.